Anger seems to be the #1 motivator nowadays. Hating each other is the new craze. Thank you for clicking on this video. I'm Brooke Makenna, but today we are going to be talking about the Richardson family murders. I wanted to do this case today because it is Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. This case shows that being a parent isn't easy, and you can't always control how they turn out. And in this case, they couldn't control how they themselves turned out either. This case has many shocking elements to it, but it also raises the question, do you really want to have kids? By the way, I'm doing Suspect Summer all summer long, making content like this, so if you enjoy this, I would love if you would subscribe and stick around, and if you want to make me smile, go ahead and thumbs up this video right now. Let's get back to the story. The Richardson family was a beautiful, loving, tight family living in Medicine Hat, Alberta, Canada, in a little suburban area. They consisted of Mark, the father, Deborah, the mother, and their 2 kids, Jasmine and Jacob. Jasmine was 12 and Jacob was 8. And Mark and Deborah had met in 1991 and got married after they had both committed themselves to a sober lifestyle. So fast forwarding to when they had 2 kids, this family was a pretty normal family. Jasmine was a really good girl going to a Christian school, and Jacob was a goofy class clown, typical 8-year-old little boy. That is until Jasmine started changing. But as everyone does at this age, they go through changes. So her parents didn't think much of it at first. She kind of had adopted more of a gothic style. She was dressing a lot darker, doing her makeup a lot darker, and apparently she had met this boy at a punk rock concert. Then she began dating him, which her parents did not know, and her personality began getting darker as well. So many fights occurred between everyone in the family at this point, and that is when the parents had had enough. And eventually they found out about Jasmine's boyfriend, and what they found out was not something a parent ever wants to hear. That their 12-year-old daughter was dating a 23-year-old man. They immediately put a stop to it. They grounded her. They said she could not see him anymore. So they were hoping that their sweet Jasmine would come back after she had been released from this weird 23-year-old man that wanted to date such a young girl. But Jasmine had already traveled so far down this dark path that I don't think she saw the light anymore and didn't want to see it. She did obey by her parents' rules, though. She did not leave the house she stayed in, but that did not mean she couldn't talk to her boyfriend online. Jasmine really began to love the fear that her looks and new personality instilled in other people. At school, her friends would be scared of her and the changes she was going through, and it gave her that happy high that you get when you're really excited about something. She loved that fear that she gave other people. But her parents did not do much about her looks because they thought that they got rid of the #1 problem, her boyfriend, which they kind of did. They were just talking online right now, seemed harmless enough. But on April 23rd of 2006, little 8-year-old Jacob's friend came over wanting to play. He knocked on the door. When nobody answered, he kind of looked around, looked inside, the window that led to the basement, and he saw 2 bodies lying on the floor. That's when he immediately ran to get help. When the police got there, they found a horrific crime scene, one that still traumatizes them to this day. And what they found was Mark and Deborah lying lifeless on the basement floor, and their son Jacob upstairs lying lifeless in his own bed. At first they thought it was possibly a murder-suicide because Mark, the father, actually had a screwdriver next to him that was bloodied. But then they started looking around the home and they saw a picture, a family picture, and they noticed Jasmine in it, and she was not anywhere in the house. Frantically, they began searching for her, thinking that possibly she was abducted while her whole family was being murdered, and that the murderers had her. Now, in a way, she was with the murderer, but not in the way the police were expecting. A quick search of Jasmine's emails and her locker at school gave them a whole new insight to this crime. In Jasmine's locker, they found a drawing, a stick figure drawing, of a house with a family burning inside of it, and a girl running to her boyfriend's truck saying "mwahaha." An email that Jasmine had sent to her boyfriend Jeremy said, "I have a plan. It begins with killing them and ends with me living with you." And that changed the case completely. Instead of saying that she was crazy, her 23-year-old boyfriend Jeremy liked the idea, asking her how they would do it and when. Now, Jeremy was raised in a very abusive home. He had an alcoholic mother, and he was bullied really badly as a kid. He had a rough start, and to him, to cope in his 20s, he began calling himself a 300-year-old werewolf. He said he loved the taste of blood, and he often wore a vial of blood around his neck. So to Jeremy, he was a werewolf, and to Jasmine, Jeremy was the love of her life. The police found posts on Jeremy's Windows Live Spaces account, and it was basically saying, "I want to slit their throat. They will regret the stuff they have done, especially when I see it that they are gone." And this was after finding out that Jasmine's parents no longer wanted Jasmine to see him. And less than a month after that post was made, Jasmine's family was lying dead on the floor. The search instantly ensued. They were seen at a restaurant nearby 2 hours after the murders, kissing and laughing. They were found the next day, on April 24th, only 100 miles from the house where these murders happened. They were instantly arrested on 3 counts of murder. Jasmine didn't deny her involvement. In fact, she said, "I loved him so much, I thought it would bring us closer together," talking about Jeremy. And the description that these two went into afterwards about what they had done showed the very little remorse that either of them had. So the day of the murders, Jeremy began his day by drinking beer, wine, and snorting cocaine. When Jasmine finally asked him to come over, she unlocked the basement window, where he came in through that very window and made too much noise. Or maybe that's what he was going for. Because Jasmine's mother, Deborah, walked down the stairs, and as soon as she turned the light on, Jeremy was standing there with a knife and began to stab her. He stabbed her 12 times, all the while screaming, "Die, die, die." And that is when her husband, Mark, heard her and came running to her rescue. He grabbed a screwdriver on his way there, but it was too late. Jeremy was already done stabbing Deborah and stabbed Mark before he could get a stab in himself. He was stabbed 24 times, 9 of those being in the back. And he actually asked why Jeremy was doing this. And Jeremy replied, "Because your daughter wanted it this way." That's when they went upstairs together, Jasmine and Jeremy, after her parents were dead, went up to her little 8-year-old brother Jacob's room. And when Jacob asked her what she was doing, she didn't say anything. She just slit his throat and left. And Jasmine even went as far to say that Jacob was gurgling when she did it. This crime scene was horrific. There were handprints of bloodied hands all over the walls, and there was blood all over Jacob's room, including on his toys. A girl named Casey Lancaster, who was with Jasmine and Jeremy when they were arrested, was also arrested and charged with accessory to murder. Jasmine's friends came forward and said she had actually talked about wanting to murder her family, hating her family, and they didn't take her seriously. After the murder, Jeremy told his friends that he gutted Jasmine's parents like a fish. And after the murders, it was found out that Jeremy and Jasmine went to their friend's house to have sex at 12 and 23. Every aspect of that is disturbing. But at the trial, Jeremy's defense claimed that he was an immature boy who was in love with Jasmine and would do whatever it took to keep her. Jasmine claimed that she was joking about killing her parents and didn't think Jeremy would actually do it. But then she also said that she killed her brother because it would be unfair to leave him without parents, and he was too sensitive for that. And even though they had an email implicating Jasmine in these murders, she was still only 12 years old. And in Canada, they have a Youth Criminal Justice Act, which 12 years old makes it the youngest a person can be to be convicted. Anyone under 14 cannot be tried as an adult, and the maximum sentence they can get is 10 years, no matter what the crime. This is supposedly to rehabilitate them instead of just punishing them. But that meant Jasmine was about to get a 10-year sentence for the murder of her family. Jasmine pled not guilty at her trial, but on June 9th of 2007, after 3 hours of deliberation, she was found guilty on all 3 counts of murder. But like I said, 10 years max. And they also credited her the 18 months she had already spent in prison awaiting her trial, which took off her sentence even more. And 4 years of that was going to be spent in a psychiatric hospital, and then the other 4.5 was going to be her integrating back into the community to live a regular life when she got out. She is believed to be the youngest person to have ever been convicted of a multiple murder in Canada. But what about her werewolf boyfriend? In December of 2008, her boyfriend Jeremy Stank actually was tried for the murders. He was found guilty of all 3 counts of first-degree murder and sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences. He was told he could get parole in 25 years. His defense really tried to say this was all fueled by a drug and alcohol haze, and he didn't know what he was doing at the time. But his innocence was completely lost after an undercover cop came forward saying what he, Jeremy, had been saying to him. First of all, he said the movie Natural Born Killers was his favorite movie and that it was the greatest love story of all time. And no, what kind of movies you like does not make you a bad person. But that movie started off with a boy killing his girlfriend's parents to give her freedom. Also, he told another undercover cop, "You heard of that triple homicide? You're looking at him. Me and my lady have become legends." The friend that was with them, Casey Lancaster, got her accessory to murder charges dropped, but she did plead guilty to an obstruction charge and actually got 1 year house arrest as a plea bargain. Under supervision, Jasmine actually got to attend Mount Royal University in Calgary, Alberta in 2012. In 2016, she was officially released from prison after serving her 10 years. She got a part-time job and continued her studies, and she is now roaming free with all of us. Justice Scott Brooker was actually the one that granted her her freedom, and he said that her parents and brothers should be proud of the person she is now. People in her community where this all happened said that she should be given a second chance. Before getting out though, Jasmine and Jeremy wrote letters to each other in prison that really showed their mindset at the time and what the two of them together were like. Jeremy said, "I love you more than life itself. I've added you to my visitors list, so once you're released, please visit often. Never forget how much I care or that I love you. We can keep writing each other till we can be together again. Without you, this life isn't worth living. You said you want to get engaged? Then here's a cue. Will you marry me? If so, then it is a verbal agreement." And Jasmine said, Ah ha 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 ha, I never thought I'd find myself hysterically laughing in a holding cell in these kinds of circumstances. Or ever, really. But still, ha ha ha, you make me so happy. Yes, yes, I will, I would love to. ... Interesting information I came across. Anything you can say to anyone, including a psychiatrist, unless issued by a lawyer, can be used against you. For f***'s sake. Rawr. The world is really against us. So, that doesn't send chills up your spine. I don't know what will. Jeremy is actually eligible for parole in 15 years. But he has since tried to appeal his case and it was denied, and he's not really doing well in jail. He actually changed his name as well to Jackson May. And so the chances of him getting paroled in 2033 are very slim, thankfully. It is said that Jasmine and Jeremy broke up while they were still in jail, but I could not find anywhere that confirmed that. And I don't know if there's a certain thing where they are legally unable to contact each other or not, but I'm really hoping that they can't. So the werewolf ex-boyfriend is now serving 3 life sentences, and I have to say, that's going to be a very long time if he is really a werewolf. I just had to throw that in just because this case is so heavy. So, whereas Jasmine is aging normally, she would be about 24 now, and because of her young age when these crimes were committed, her identity is completely protected. So she could be anywhere. Lurking, stalking, praying, or just living a regular life. But we're left not knowing whether she's changed, really, and if a person that does something like that, even at a young age, can change and be a better person. She apparently started showing remorse before she was let out of prison, but again, how do we not know that was just to be let out of prison? Do you believe that 10 years for any crime of a minor is a good sentencing? Do you think Jasmine should be able to live a normal life? But just like in my Lonely Heart Killers video, it really raises the question, what can love really make you do? I don't know. I think for me, I understand the whole rehabilitating minors, but I think that there needs to be a line drawn there. It wasn't like she just robbed a candy store to get a pack of gum. She came up with a plan, had her boyfriend execute it, and she executed it herself with her brother. I don't think a mind like that can ever just change, but who am I to say? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that below, because I just don't know. I can't imagine. And I just don't understand how people in the community who are friends with her parents could say, yeah, she deserves regular life now, after they know what she's done. But I do hope for everyone's sake that she is better, that she did change, and that it was just her adolescent brain not working correctly, because she is roaming free, and that's something we can't change. Yes, I'm sorry that this one was kind of a darker one. This case is very intriguing and very mind-blowing in many different ways, but it was also about a daughter, and since it's Father's Day, you know, I couldn't just put up like a nice little Father's Day thing. It had to be a little creepy. So there it is, sorry. So make sure to tell me what you think about this case below, and remember, I'm doing Suspect Summer, so subscribe and thumbs up if you are excited for it, because I'm trying to post so much content for you guys. And I hope I didn't scare you too much with this video. I'll let you guys go. Bye.
But true intentions are hard to see. Who knows, the person beside you may be crazy.